you got to feel really good about the Wild's chances if we run into the Blues. Now, the Stars, you got to be excited for that series if you're a Wild fan. I mean, considering the Stars, and where they came from, you're welcome, Dallas. Bastards. But it's definitely not as good of a matchup for the Wild, in my opinion, as the Blues would be. The Blues really rely on their physicality, and that's why the Wild were able to beat them last year, is because the Wild are a speed team, and you counter physicality with speed. If you can't catch someone, you cannot apply your power. And that's where the Wild excelled, like I said, last year, and where I like that matchup. Dallas is a little more of a well-rounded team, but they are not the type of matchup that the Wild should fear. In all honesty, okay, the only matchups in this entire playoffs that the Wild should be scared of is the Ducks and the Kings. And we beat the Kings recently, so that's not as scary, but those are the matchups we should be scared of, is those Pacific team matchups. Maybe even the Sharks after they embarrassed us last night. But these Central teams, Stars, Blues, Blackhawks, who we owned five times out of 5 this year, and the Predators, who are horribly inconsistent all year, none of these Central teams are a scary matchup from a Wild standpoint. I think the Pacific teams all play a little different brand of hockey that might not allow the Wild to utilize their strengths as much, and also might exploit the Wild's weaknesses a little bit more as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm hoping that they get the Blues because I feel better about their chances. However, if they get the Stars, I will love that series. Just had the opportunity for those two franchises to face off against each other in the playoffs will be a treat for all fans involved. But so, like I said, you got the Wild taking on either the Stars or Blues, whoever comes win out there. First place in Pacific's totally up for grabs too. You've got both the Ducks and the Kings tied with 99 points. However, the Ducks have a game in hand on the Kings, as the Ducks have 3 games left to play, and the Kings only have 2 games left to play. So the Ducks clearly in control of their own destiny there. I feel they will come out on top. So they would be hosting the Predators then. In round 1, you would have... let's say the Stars stay in first and face the Wild, then you'd have the Blues versus the Sharks, and the Kings versus the Blackhawks in round 1. Whoo, that'll be an awesome matchup if we get that too. Then moving over to the East, the 1 seed's been locked up for forever now with the Capitals. And then the Panthers have finally separated themselves again in the Atlantic. They will be the 2 seed. Your wild card teams, it's looking like the Bruins will definitely be, it's looking like the Islanders have one of the 2 wild cards locked up, unless somehow they pass the Rangers and the Rangers end up in the top wild card. But it's looking like the Islanders will almost certainly be the top wild card, and either the Flyers or Bruins, both tied with 91 points right now, but the Flyers with a game in hand. One of those 2 teams will end up making the playoffs. I'm definitely picking Bruins over Flyers there. So your matchups then, your potential matchups when we're talking hockey this next week, we'll see if we're right, would be the Bruins versus the Capitals, and then we would have the Islanders versus the Panthers, and then we would have the Penguins versus the Red Wings, and the Lightning versus the Rangers. Ooh, that'd be a really good first-round series, too. Man, I'm getting stoked for hockey playoffs. I don't know about you. All right. But we're going to switch. That's it for hockey talk. We got 1 topic left. It's basketball, but we got to break it down into 3 freaking parts. So we better get to that and start the balls dribble. All right, so we're starting balls dribble in the NBA, and we'll finish with men's and women's college basketball. But when we start in the NBA, we almost always start with my and possibly your Minnesota Timberwolves. But in a rare swing of events, the national story in the NBA also involves the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's right, the big A topic in the NBA, in the world of pro basketball today, involves the Minnesota Timberwolves and what they did last night. What did they do last night, Scotty Ball? They beat the Golden State Warriors in overtime last night in Golden State. They were trailing late in the fourth quarter. I want to say down by like 4 or 6 with just 2 minutes to go. Wiggins had over 30 points. I want to say Shabazz Muhammad had a career high, 30 plus points. Big Cat had his typical, 26, 15, and, everything game. It was amazing. It was awesome to watch. Rubio playing good, Levine playing good. This team has talent on it. Oh my goodness, this team has talent on it. The one thing that bugged me was they interviewed Wiggins after the game last night, and he was, feeling good, but humble and confident, both at the same time. And he mentioned how, he's on a good team. There's good players on his team. He plays on a good team. And on any given night, his team can beat any given team in the NBA. And both announcers literally laughed at him and told him to slow his roll, to slow down, young fella. I was just like, what do you want the guy to say, man? Like, that's exactly what he should say. And everything he's saying is true. So I don't understand what your problem is. TNT or TBS freaking douchebags, Marv Albert and numbnuts. I don't even know who the calling team was, but they stunk. I hated that at the end there. Very, very unprofessional on their parts to laugh at a young man in his moment after a big win. That's a historic win. Why is it a historic win? Because the Golden State Warriors are still going to to tie or break the all-time record for wins in an NBA season, set at 72 wins by the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls. Put it this way, if the Warriors would have won last night like they were supposed to, they would have had an over 70% chance of tying the record and an over 50% chance of breaking the record. Now, following the loss last night, they have a 50% chance of tying the record and only a 15% chance of breaking the record. I want to say they would have to win out. We'll check here. Yes, that is correct. The Warriors suffered their 9th loss of the season to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that is the last game they can lose and still break the record. They can lose one more game and tie the record. They have 4 games remaining. So to tie the all-time record, the Warriors will have to go 3-1. To break the all-time record, the Warriors will have to go 4-0. They'll have to win out. Let's take a look now at both that Warriors schedule and the remaining T-Wolves games on the schedule that we can, look forward to and enjoy here this year. All right, so the Warriors, we'll take a look at their schedule first. They face the same 2 opponents in their final 4 games. The first game being this Thursday here now at 9:30, a late game at home, hosting the San Antonio Spurs. Wow, that's going to be a tough game, but I do expect the Warriors to bounce back and win that game. Then on Saturday, they will go to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. That should be an easy win. Grizzlies have nothing to play for. They're locked into their playoff spot, and they're injured and not going to get healthy, and that should be an easy win for the Warriors. Then the game that should for sure hang them up would be the following day. The fact that it's a back-to-back, they play Saturday night and then again on Sunday. But not only is it a back-to-back, it is both are on the road, and that second one is in San Antonio against the Spurs, who have not lost a single game all year. They are perfect at home all year, and you can better believe that they do not want to lose a game at all this year on their home court. They want that piece of history. They want that record. They want that undefeated, perfect at-home season. And they want to make sure the Warriors are going into this playoffs with a clear message that you're not going to win any games on our court. Don't even try. So you need to focus on, if you have, when we play in the Western Conference Finals and you're hosting the series, all 4 of your home games are the games where the pressure's on you, because you need to win all 4 of those. You ain't winning none in our building, and you can better believe that the Spurs are going to try and hammer that home in that Sunday night game. And then finally, the Warriors' final game will be on Wednesday next week, when we're probably doing the next show, and that will be at at home against the Grizzlies, again, an easy win. So the Warriors will for sure easily win 2 of these last 4 games, I should say. But both against the Spurs are very losable. One would think for sure. So at best, I think they'll tie the record. But one surprised me one bit. And I'm kind of expecting, I guess if I had to bet my money on it, I'm guessing that they're going to fall one short and end up 71-11. Now, taking a quick look at the Wolves' schedule before we close out with the standings / playoff picture for the NBA. The Wolves have 4 games remaining, just like the Golden State Warriors do, and also like the Golden State Warriors, their next game is this Thursday. And it is a late night game out on the West Coast, a 9 p.m. start, and that is in Sacramento against the Kings. A lot of young, good talent there, especially always at Boogie's on the court. You gotta love a game, even if there's nothing from a win-loss standpoint. From a basketball fan standpoint, it's entertaining to watch Biggie, Cousins on one end of the court going at it against Karl Anthony Towns on the other side, and just going back and forth. So there's at least that entertainment value there. And then they have Friday off. They play again on Saturday in Portland against the Trailblazers. That's a 9:30 start. So West Coast trip. And then they return home for their final 2 games of the season. Monday night hosting the Houston Rockets, who that game will be huge for the Rockets, trying to get that 8th and final playoff spot, maybe even into the 7th seed. Tight race there that we'll get to in a moment. And then the final game of the season will feature Karl Anthony Towns versus Anthony Davis. You gotta love that. That's worth buying a ticket to go to Target Center. I'm sure there's plenty available. And that will be Wednesday night next week at 7 o'clock. All right, so quick look here at our NBA standings / playoff picture, and we keep it out in the West because that's what we all care about, at least what I care about mostly in basketball anyway, and for the most part, because the East stinks, let's face it. Warriors are your 1 seed at 69-9. Spurs 3.5 games back at 65-12. So that's 77. Spurs have 5 games left, 2 against the Warriors. So if the Warriors only win 1 more of their games, if the Warriors go 1-3 in this Final 4 stretch, and the Spurs go 5-0 in their final, because they've got a game in hand, if we were talking hockey, Spurs could still have the Spurs are still mathematically, in there for the number 1 seed, and they would love that. So they're definitely going to go at the Warriors here tonight. That's for the that's going to be for the 1 seed. You can lose 1 game and not get the number 1 seed. If you're the Warriors, you win that home game against the Grizzlies. What if you lose the road game against the Grizzlies and both against the Spurs? Whoo, that'd be awesome. I'd love it. Not that I'm a Spurs fan. I'm by no means a Spurs fan, and I'm not anti-Warriors by any means either. Just I like the drama and the intrigue, and I kind of feel like the Spurs are a slightly better team. But it makes for a more interesting Western Conference Finals if the Spurs are the road team. I also feel. But then we've got, in 3rd place, locked into the 3 seed, we've got the Thunder. Locked into the 4 seed, we've got the Clippers. Not locked into the 5 seed. Battle for the 5 seed, actually. Grizzlies and Blazers are tied. But the Grizzlies have 2 games in hand, going back to hockey, on the Blazers. Blazers only have 2 games left. Grizzlies have 4. But so Grizzlies will have something to play for in those Warrior games as well. Ooh, fantastic. All right. So those 2 are Grizzlies and Trailblazers. Seeing who's going to be 5, who's going to be 6. Mathematically, it should be Grizzlies. Play as of the last month or so should be Blazers. And then in the other Heatly, did I just make up a word? In the other heated battle in the West, the 7 and 8 seed. Right now at the 7 seed, we've got the Mavericks with a 1-game lead over the 8 seed team, which is the Jazz, and they have a 1-game lead over the 9 seed Rockets. But all 3 of those teams battling with each other, jockeying for position and a spot in the playoffs. So next week we'll have the end of our regular season, and